What's up, everybody? How's it going, beautiful people, friends out there? Welcome to another segment of Gaming News and Chill. I am your host, Taylor Latteron, and today we have a little bit longer of a segment lined up for you guys. I've got a couple stories I really want to talk about today and this week in gaming news. Just a couple of stories I thought were really interesting, some that were kind of odd decisions, but we'll go ahead and talk about them. Today it is just me on the panel once again, so I'll just be giving my opinions on these little news stories, and we'll see if we can get somebody to come on the next one, because I don't know, it's just so lonely doing these by myself, so we need another second opinion. But anyway, let's just go ahead and get it kicked off right with the first story. Our first story we have today is that the new Hitman game for 2016 is going to be a prequel to the series and is also going to be an episodic release. So I'm not sure when this video is going to go up prior to our Game of the Year show release or our most anticipated games of 2016, but I'll give like a small little spoiler for it, I guess, just in case it isn't. That the new Hitman game for 2016 is actually on my most anticipated games of 2016 list. However, with this news coming out that it is going to be an episodic release, I gotta say I'm actually no longer excited for it. Now, as you know, the developer who does make the Hitman games is Square Enix, and they've been making them games for the past couple years, and they've kind of been making really weird business decisions as far as their games go and their properties go. As most of you probably know, the Final Fantasy VII release is also slated to be an episodic release as well. And from where I'm coming from, I honestly just don't really agree with it. I think episodic releases are another way to limit content and maximize profits off of a game. Now, I have heard the argument for Final Fantasy VII. I know we're not specifically talking about it, but I've heard a couple good, opinions raised about whether or not having it as an episodic release is a good thing or not. And playing devil's advocate, I know a lot of friends and colleagues of mine who are talking about Final Fantasy VII being an episodic release is actually a good thing, because there's so much content packed into the brim to those games that you almost couldn't fit it into an entire game. And as we kind of move on into the age of technology and where it is in gaming right now, sometimes that much content on one disc can be kind of a kind of an anomaly, I guess. However, I don't really agree with that. I think episodic releases are still kind of a cash grab, and I mean, all games really are a cash grab at the end of it. It's the same thing with movies, when people say, oh, this movie's a cash grab, they're just remaking it to make money off of it. Well, it's a business, and businesses are in the business to make money. So technically anything you do is considered a cash grab. But that's not really the main reason why I'm focusing on it. I think that an episodic release just wouldn't do the game justice, especially for Final Fantasy. I know Hitman, we don't really know what to expect since it is a prequel to the series, which I'm super okay with, considering I'm a big fan of prequels as far as they go. I like to see backstory to characters, and I think telling the backstory to Agent 47 in the Hitman series would be really interesting. But once again, I just think that having episodic releases is just kind of a way to, like I said, maximize profits while minimizing effort put into a game. So, regardless of whether we get an episode 1 of Hitman and it's, a 7-hour game, how much of that content is actually going to be packed with story and enough to actually keep you entertained throughout the entire thing is hard to say. I feel like with an episodic game, you have way more room to put in more filler content and more, boring story instead of stuff that actually matters. And it just makes me afraid. So, unfortunately, I'm no longer stoked about the Hitman 2016 game. So, kind of unfortunate news. But I know in terms of people thinking episodic releases are good or bad, I know it's kind of split down the middle. So do me a favor, guys. If you're in favor of episodic releases, please let me know down in the comments below. Do you think it could work out like a Telltale game does, where they kind of, release their games in like an episodic release? Or would you rather have it in just one game, one disc, or not even one disc really, multiple discs even, but just have it all in the same thing. That way we just have one nice concise game, and there we have it. We just have it in one place. We don't have to wait another month for an episode 2 or 3 or whatever. Please let me know on that. I'd really like to know your thoughts. So our second story for today is kind of an odd one, but I thought I would bring it up just because I know it's a game that's kind of divisive in the gaming community. Is Five Nights at Freddy's. The developer, I believe his name is Scott Cawthorn, has announced that there will be a spin-off game announced, which is called Five Nights at Freddy's World. Apparently it's going to be a mobile game released on iOS and Android systems, and is not going to be horror themed, and will also take more of an MMORPG approach. Now, I know what you're thinking, for at least some of our viewers out there, is why the hell am I covering a Five Nights at Freddy's game? Just because I think it's so controversial, those games in today's scene. I just thought it was important to bring up that we at least talk about it, because I think it's kind of a game that's kind of infamous but also famous at the same time. You know, I'm certainly no fan of the games. I think they're garbage games, in my opinion. They don't appeal to me at all, especially since I am a big fan of horror games. I would definitely consider them horror games, but they're just really poorly made horror games, and really can be churned out just as easily, or no, actually 10 times easier than Call of Duty games or anything like that could. If any of you guys remember the last Five Nights at Freddy's games, literally Five Nights at Freddy's 1, 2, and 3 were all released, I think, within a 9-month span of each other. That's literally a year of sequels. Like Five Nights at Freddy's 1, 2, and 3 were literally released like a couple months in between each other in the same year, and I just think that's garbage. But you know, the thing about that is that a lot of people like to bag on the developer for making these games, and you know, I don't actually put the blame on him at all. I think that what he did is a smart business move. The audience he caters to, and just the amount of people on, you know, YouTube, Facebook, whatever you have, like, there's so many Let's Plays for it that it's just become such a popular brand now that, you know, you really have to give the guy props. I mean, he's making millions of dollars off of essentially just these, like, super manufactured cheap horror games, and basically he's not risking as much, but the reward is significant. And I just thought this was kind of an odd thing to do, because all of the Five Nights at Freddy's games have been horror themed in the past, but now having them come to the table with an MMORPG-esque mobile game is kind of weird. I'll have footage of it up so you guys can see it. It's really, really weird. It's like really cartoony looking graphics, and all the characters have like this kind of cute art style to them, whereas at least in the horror games they at least looked somewhat creepy, and you got like these different special attacks and stuff. It's really weird, but I just thought it was worth bringing up because it seems like this developer really just wants to, you know, run this property as much as he can, milk as much money out of the franchise as he can, while there's so many, you know, young kids out there and like PewDiePie-esque Let's Players willing to play them. I mean, I don't fault the guy at all. I think he's probably a genius. Probably one of the biggest game geniuses we've had in the past couple years, just able to make these such low budget games. The guy makes them all on his own like home computer and makes millions of dollars off of them. So I mean, hey, he's got a smart business mind, and you got to give the guy props. You know, I'm not a fan of the games at all, but I just thought that was interesting, at least to bring up. Let me know what you guys think of the Five Nights at Freddy's series. Are you a fan of them? I certainly don't fault anybody for being fans of them. I just personally think that I'm not too much of a fan of them, and but I definitely respect the developer Scott for what he's done in a business sense. So I mean, good for him. Anyway, guys, we'll move on to our third story, which is that The Division has entered a closed beta this month in January. Ubisoft says you can get a spot by pre-ordering the game through a Humble Bundle promotion, and that the game is still slated for a March 2016 release. So, just to go piggyback off of the other topic I was talking about with our most anticipated games of 2016, just another spoiler for you guys, The Division is another game I'm super looking forward to in 2016. It looks like a great game, and this is just something I thought was worth bringing up in case anybody was interested in actually trying out this closed beta to see if you could actually get invited into it. Like I said, Ubisoft says you can possibly get a spot by pre-ordering the game, The Division, through the Humble Bundle promotion. So essentially you have to pre-order the game in order to maybe get a spot into the beta. Now, I don't think brought up my opinion on pre-orders yet on any of our 0 HP stuff. I'm not a big fan of pre-ordering. I think it's a terrible business practice in order to basically, people are already essentially putting down money for a game that's not complete yet, especially months in advance. I think it's a terrible idea. But from a business standpoint, it is a smart move, and I think that most people who are really stoked for this game will definitely buy into it. I don't definitely fault anybody for buying into it as well. I think that if you maybe want a spot to get into The Division, I would certainly pre-order the game to see if you could get into the closed beta, because it does seem like a really, really dope game, and I'm really looking forward to playing it personally. You know, to me, it's still not really worth it to pre-order it since we're in January right now, and the game comes out in March anyway, so you're only really waiting 2 months in order to get this game. I don't see it as really worth it at this point. They might even have an open beta in February, so before the game's even released, you might not even have to pre-order the game in general, but you know, just in case there are people out there who actually want to see if they can get a spot into it and see if they can possibly play the game early, then that's going to be the way that that you can get into The Division's closed beta. Like I said, I'm so stoked for that game. It looks like it's probably going to be one of the best games of 2016. I'm kind of leaving my hopes a little bit. I'm trying to have a little bit of low expectations just because it is Ubisoft, and Ubisoft is a company definitely known to pull some pretty bullshit moves. So I would definitely keep a lookout on that, and we'll give you more news on The Division as we close on to its final release. So there you go. Alrighty, for our third story today, we kind of have a third story that's a little bit more packed than usual. It's kind of on the subject of Pokemon, which is one of my favorite games. I don't know about you guys. I love me some Pokemon. But anyway, so our third story today is that Pokken Fighters characters have been leaked from the internet from the sources of CoroCoro magazine and Cerebi.net. Now, for those of you who don't know in the Pokemon community, Cerebi is a hugely popular website amongst Pokemon fans. Essentially, any leaks or news you want to know about the Pokemon universe, whether it be the games, trading cards, TV shows, anime, what have you, they really have all the best news, and they're probably the most credible source for information going for Pokemon games. So definitely check them out if you haven't and you're a Pokemon fan and you want to stay up to date on the latest news coming out of the Pokemon camp. And CoroCoro magazine is actually a magazine in Japan which reports on Pokemon games most of the time. So usually when we get our big leaks and our big reveals, they usually come from CoroCoro magazine. So anyway, the newest leaked playable characters out of Pokken Fighters, that's the Tekken/Pokken Pokemon crossover game that's currently in Japan. Not yet available in the US yet, but I'm sure as the years go on, or by the end of this year, I'm sure they'll have to make it releasable to the American public and other countries as well. So the new characters that we have currently are Braixen, regular Mewtwo, which is a change-up because they did have the fighting version of Mewtwo available, but they are now saying that regular form Mewtwo will be available, Garchomp will be available, and also Sceptile is confirmed. So kind of an interesting lineup, a weird mixed match of characters. So far, we've now seen that, you know, Pokken, in terms of a Pokemon that they're using for the game, they're not just sticking to just fighting Pokemon, because we do have Garchomp now, which is half dragon, half ground type. And I know for all you non-Pokemon fans out there who have no idea what I'm talking about, each Pokemon has their own type, So basically what I was thinking when this Pokken Fighters game was coming out was that the only Pokemon type that they were going to be putting into the game was fighting type, but they've really recently released Pokemon that show us that no, that's definitely not the case. So we've got Garchomp and Sceptile, which is also a half grass, half electric type Pokemon when in its Mega form. So I thought that was really interesting. It seems like we're getting a really cool roster of characters for this game. A lot of different Pokemon from across different generations. You know, it wouldn't surprise me when this game first came out that they would only have Gen 1 or Generation 1 Pokemon in there. But I'm glad that they're kind of diversifying and, you know, pulling Pokemon from different generations. So each generation can have like their own Pokemon that they can really latch onto, because I think if you just limit it to Generation 1 Pokemon, you get all the 20 plus year olds like me who have been into Pokemon since they were little kids, and then you kind of alienate all the younger kids who are still into Pokemon. You know, the new generations are good, and I'm glad that they're at least diversifying. So that's my news out of Pokken Fighters. I also wanted to share, it was also another Pokemon related news story, which is why I'll kind of cram it into this one just so we're not taking up too much time, is that the commercial for Pokemon Go was supposed to play during the Super Bowl this year, which I thought was super interesting. For those of you who don't know, Pokemon Go is going to be a mobile game released. I think they're thinking at least late February, early March for this game. And essentially what it is kind of like a augmented reality game where essentially you have your phone that you use as like kind of your hub in order to catch Pokemon. And then what the deal is basically you can walk around outside in different environments at stores and, you know, anywhere out in public essentially, and you can actually catch Pokemon. And the whole idea behind it is that you catch Pokemon, you can trade them with your friends. It really is bringing Pokemon into the mainstream in terms of like, you know, a lot of people have been clamoring for a Pokemon MMO RPG for a really long time. And I think this is definitely the next step towards that. And I think it could be a great substitute. As far as the last trailer goes, the last trailer was really cool. It didn't show us any really kind of solid gameplay for us to expect, but the game sounds fun. It sounds cool. I was talking to Ian and Jimmy a while back about this, our members in Zero HP, and we were talking about how like this kind of harkens back to like the old like Digimon scanner things where you would scan like a barcode, or you'd scan, you know, in your living room or something, and you'd catch a different Digimon, and you can essentially trade them between your friends, battle them, level them up. It was a really cool idea, and I think that bringing that back is a great idea, and I think is only going to work wonders for them. So definitely Pokemon Go is something I'm super stoked about. Let me know if you guys are Pokemon fans out there, and if you're just equally as stoked about this as I am. I'm keeping low expectations for this, of course, too. It's always nice not to get too hyped about something, but you know, with Pokemon, it's just so hard for me sometimes. I really am just a kid at heart, so I'm stoked to watch that during the Super Bowl, where hopefully my Arizona Cardinals will be winning the Super Bowl this year. You know what? Since we're here, just a little bit off topic, I'm going to make my Super Bowl prediction just so I can say it was recorded. So I am recording this on January 14th on a Thursday. So I just want to make my Super Bowl prediction. I think this year it will be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Arizona Cardinals, with the Arizona Cardinals taking it all. So you heard it here, folks. Super Bowl champs 2016. Anyway, so we'll move on to our last topic, guys, on topic number 5, which is that Sony has been denied trademarking on the term Let's Play. Super, super interesting. Trademark representatives have been quoted saying that, quote, because the format is so widely used, trademarking could lead to consumer confusion, making it impossible to trademark. And also, news outlets, when asked what was Sony's reason for trademarking the term, they gave no comment. So very interesting that Sony is making kind of a weird power play in order to trademark the term Let's Play. I thought it was really weird. But I'm definitely not shocked by the news, since everybody on the internet, including us at Zero HP, use the term "Let's Play" in order to describe just a bunch of friends sitting around recording their gameplay footage. So it's no wonder that this didn't go through. I couldn't imagine how it would have worked in the first place, considering, you know, like the trademark representative said, it would totally lead to just consumer confusion on the matter. And you know, I'm not a trademark expert. I don't know what the circumstances are if you violate a trademark, but as far as I know, you have to pay a fee of some sort in order to actually use the term. And I just think that's total bullshit. So it's a business move that doesn't really make a lot of sense. It just kind of seems like they're grasping for straws in terms of like trying to make money off of this so widely used term in the gaming community that it's kind of odd. And I thought it was kind of funny too that Sony as a company, when they asked, you know, when news outlets were like, so why exactly are you trademarking the term "Let's Play," they absolutely gave no comment for it. I'm sure even if they would have got the trademark too, and the question would have been asked, I'm sure they probably wouldn't have responded to that either. So I think it's kind of just an interesting move. I'm sure Sony did it in order to make some kind of money off of it, which, you know, I don't blame them doing at all, but I think it was just kind of an odd move, and that I'm kind of glad it was shot down as well, just because so many different YouTube channels and different outlets on the internet, whether it be, you know, IGN or YouTubers, have used the term "Let's Play," and I think you just get into too much murky water with it to where it's in a weird legal standing, and you can't exactly discern who's being, you know, honest about it and who's not. So I thought that was super interesting. Let me know what you guys think on Sony trademarking "Let's Play" too. I'd definitely like to have a conversation about that. But yeah, that's about it, guys. That's going to do it for today's episode of Gaming News and Chill. I want to thank you guys so much for listening and watching with us today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We're going to see if we can get somebody else on the panel next week for the next episode, just so I'm not sitting here kind of rambling off about it. It's always nice to bounce off of other people, and so that's what we'll go ahead and shoot for next week's Gaming News and Chill. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you want, you guys can always follow us on Facebook at 0HP, 0HP Crew, and then follow us on Twitter at 0HP Gaming. And you can also follow me, Taylor, on Twitter as well at Taylor the Savior. Add me on Facebook, guys. Tweet at me. Follow me. Do all the different kind of things. I'd love to have a conversation with you guys. But thanks for watching again, and we totally appreciate it. I will see you next week for our next episode. Keep hanging on, and have a great day, guys.